Jai Hind. My name is Vikash. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. The topic on which I will be discussing the cloud architecture. In this, I will be discussing the NIST National Institute of Science and Technology has defined the reference model for it. In this reference model, the various key players are there, which they basically interact with each others, and in that how the interaction happens between these stakeholders, that will be discussed in the this presentations are there. Okay. So NIST cloud computing reference architecture is this. NIST is as per the NIST definition of cloud computing is widely acknowledged for this significant contribution to explain the complex nature of the cloud services and its technologies are there. In this, NIST has defined the taxonomy with respect to the services models like your software as services, infrastructure as services, platform as services, and the four deployment models are there, like your private cloud, public cloud, community cloud, and hybrid clouds are there. So, NIST reference architecture for the cloud computing emphasize on what cloud services requirement rather than how to design and implementation of solutions are there. The main purpose of this reference architecture is to aid comprehension of the operational complexity inherent in the cloud computing are there. In this reference model, they depict the system architectures of a particular cloud computing systems. It serves as a reference framework for describing, debating, and developing this system specific architectures are there. They basically defines what cloud service are requirements are there and how to design to do it so that developer can implement their solutions with respect to the cloud computing are there. We have various companies such like AWS, Azure, Google Clouds, and IBMs and so on. Various public, private, hybrid, and community clouds are there, which basically use this reference model for the creating an overall architecture or you can say deployment of a cloud services in their companies are there. So, what is the reference architecture? We say it's a template for description of the architecture, probably defined at different level of abstractions. There are two levels, high level and low levels are there. At high level, abstractions only shows the functionalities are there, and at the low levels, showing the method to perform the specific task with the help of the APIs are there. Or you can say it's a conceptual model for discussing the technical requirement and operations of the cloud computing are there. Or you can say it's a blueprint for guide the developers in designing of the cloud computing and its applications are there. Blueprint means composition of interconnected services that are being implementing reusable logics for building applications and their APIs are there and with their descriptions which helps them in order to develop the architecture for the any companies are there. So this is the basically conceptual model of the reference are there. There are five stakeholders are there, or you can say key players are there. One is your cloud computer consumers are there, and another is your cloud providers is there. Then we have the cloud brokers are there, and the cloud auditors are there, and the cloud carriers are there. These are the five major players in the this reference models are there. Here, cloud consumers is the person, or you can say it is in a company or an individual which will avail the services of the cloud services from the different companies are there. Let's say they can have the services from the AWS, they can have the services from Azure, they can have the services from the Google Cloud or various cloud services are there, or they can create their own private networks depending upon the let's say federated clouds are being used where we can create on our private networks are there. Companies are using the creating their private networks for their internal day-to-day activities, and if they need to interact with others, they can use the public clouds are there. Okay. So these are the consumers which are being there. Now another is cloud providers are there. Here these are the things that will be done by the your cloud providers are there, like your service orchestrations are there. We have an abstractions layers are there where we define the hardware physical layer, what needs to be done, and as well as the software layers are there. And we have a cloud managed services where we support the business, we provisioning or configurations can happen, that is depend upon the requirement. In this here provisioning, it means depending upon the requirement of the users or a company, the resources can be increase or decrease, or you can say scalability or you say elasticity can happen in provided by your cloud providers are there. Then we have a portability and interoperabilities are there. It means if we user can switch from one service provider to another service providers, then the portability or interoperability can happen. Or you can say here it means the services can be availed by the users at various different platforms. You can access it from your desktop, you can access from the laptop, you can access from the your mobiles, tablet, etc. Then we have a cloud brokers are there. Cloud brokers is basically the person who integrate, or you can say aggregate the various cloud services are there. In this cloud broker, they generally being used where the company, let's suppose if we have a company is there and X companies don't have a footfall, or you can say they don't have the data centers at that at particular locations are there. So here these cloud brokers can merge the various services from the different vendors and provide the services at that there. So they generally perform the services aggregations there at that particular locations are there. Or you can say the cloud brokers are generally being used when companies try to protect their data. They use the private networks, and if they have to interact with the consumer, or you can say different peoples, at that time they can use the public networks, public clouds are there. So they generally is being used. Data aggregations can be done by these your cloud brokers are there. They also perform the service arbitrations and the service intermediations between the different cloud service providers are there. Another stakeholder or key role players are your cloud auditors are there, which they generally being perform the security audits. They perform the privacy impact audits and performance audits are being done by the these cloud auditor are there. The main purpose of the cloud auditor is to see, or you can say they are the third party which oversees whether these cloud providers is providing these services as per the intended to the users are there, and for that their SLAs are being properly followed by the cloud providers are there. Okay, so they can have the interactions, or you can say they can audit the not only the cloud providers are there, they can audit the your cloud brokers also can be audited are there, where these brokers have the aggregated of different services from the different vendors and they are following the rules and regulations as per the cloud services reference models are there. They can also audit the consumers also, depending whether the intended users is accessing the informations or not. Let's take one by one. These role players are there. So individual organization key with the key roles: consumer who acquire the services, uses the services; provider, vendor which provide the services; broker, it's acts as an intermediate between the your consumer and the providers are there. So it acts as an intermediator between these two are there. Then auditor is an independent body, or you can say a third party, which monitors or assess the cloud services. And the fifth one is carriers are there. Okay, so this one is being left. The cloud carrier. Here the cloud company is having the SLAs, or you can say the user can interact with these cloud providers are there. They interact with each other with the help of the internets are there. So internet also again plays the important roles here. Here the cloud connectivity carriers provides the connectivities and the transportation of data and services between the providers and the consumers are there. So they are the helps the interactions between the consumer and the services providers are there. So as I told, cloud consumers is which browse the service catalog the providers, and they request the services depending upon the activities. Usage scenarios are there. They can set up service contract with the providers depending upon the it is an individual person is cloud is consumer is there, or the company is there. So they can set up the service contract with them. Whatever the services they are being used, they will charge. So cloud services is the pay as you go. Here in this, the assess consumer may be built based on the number of users, times of use, net bandwidth, storage volumes. According to it, the consumer will be charged are there. In infrastructure services and platform services, consumer will build according to process, storage, network resources, number of virtual machines are being created, HTTP calls, number of IPUs, net bandwidth, storage volumes are being there. Generally, this here, if we say a standalone user or individual user, they go for the SAS are there. But if they let's suppose the companies are being using the cloud services, they can avail the services of the in general infrastructure services and platform services are there. Here infrastructure where the architecture of any company has to be established, they use the infrastructure services are there. But if the automation of the software testing, or you can say they want to deploy, they want to test the applications, then developers can use the platform as services for the deployment of their applications are there. Then consumer needs an SLA for the specific requirements that needs to be fulfilled by the providers are there. That is that is cloud providers are there. So consumer and the service provider must have the SLAs in between them, so that they can provide the better services to the consumers are there. Here in this case generally 5 times 9, that is 99.999% of the uptime has to be provided by the cloud services providers are there. Then we have a service level agreements that can happen between the consumer as well as the services providers are there. SLA can be happens between the service provider and the your cloud integrator, or you can say cloud providers are there. So there are different SLA models can happen depending upon the what kind of services models, whether it is a infrastructure services, platform services, and the software services are there. So SLAs can be defined clearly for the infrastructure services, because here the service providers will have the all the services are being provided by the service providers are there. But for the platform services, software services, SLA are still very vague, and they are very difficult to define as these refers to the high level of functionality, but can be agreed between the providers and the customers based on their requirements and their business needs are there. This is the examples of cloud services where the software services are there. we have a platform as services are being provided, and an infrastructure as a service are being provided. Yes, software as services, we have these are the different applications, or you can say services can be provided by the cloud services providers are there. With respect to infrastructure services, we have a storage, CDN, backup, service management, etc. are being defined by the infrastructure services. And then we have platform services. We have the where the software developer team can perform the testing or developing the applications. For that, these are the services can be provided to the those consumers are there. So this diagram itself is very large, or you can say we can have the many lectures on this, but here just a gist of the what are the examples, or you can say the services can be availed by the different consumers depending upon their requirements are there. So let's suppose I'm an individual, I will go for these SAS are there. If let's suppose I want to deploy an applications, or you can say I need to create an application, I go for the platform web services are there. Let's suppose if I want to develop a new applications, then I will go for the platform as a services are there. We can go for the depending upon the requirements of the individuals or the companies are there. So cloud providers acquire and manage the computing infrastructure. They run the cloud software, make service available to the interested parties. They make arrangement or contract with the consumers. And mostly these contract in terms of SLAs are there, where the promises or limitations or obligations is provided to the consumers, or accepted by the consumers are there. And depending on the SLAs, and they provide the pricing policies to the consumers are there. And these are the major activities that can be done: service deployments, orchestrations, cloud services, security and privacy are being done by the your cloud providers are there, where here service deployment means what kind of services they have to provide are there. In the service orchestrations, the automations of the services are there. And here in cloud services management, again, they will provide the how the data is being used, how many times users have accessed this data, or you can say how many times their virtual machines has been accessed, or whatever the thing is. Everything is billing systems are being done here, or you can say management of the services can be done here in the cloud services management are there. Here they are, as the data is being kept on the third party, and the user data must be secure enough, so the encryption and decryption has been done, and in order to provide the securities are there. And the privacy is there again. They have to provide the privacy so that their own employees should not, or you can say cannot able to access the data of the consumers are there. This again, this cloud providers is a very vast topic. Just a brief of this major activities with respect to cloud providers are there. So auditors is perform the independent examinations of the cloud services control are there. So they ideally contractual clause enable third party to assess their cloud operations are there. They determine the extent to which cloud operations are implemented, executed as per the planned or agreed between the providers and the consumers, or the providers and the brokers are there. So they audit the objective. The cloud auditor objective is to verify the conformance of the standard are being followed. They are providing security. They are following the privacy controls. Performance are there. So they generally work on the they audit on the security issues, privacy issues, and performance issues, or even process audits are there. Broker generally, as I told you, the brokers is those persons who integrate the cloud services for the consumers are there. They acts as an intermediary between the clouds provider and the cloud services consumers are there. They provide the service in the three forms: intermediations, aggregation, arbitrage are there. In intermediate, they present the services to the consumer, provide the enhance, improve the given services, by adding identity management, performing reporting, enhancing the in the aggregations, combine and integrate the multiple services into ones are there, and the arbitrary services being aggregated may change or come from the different providers are there. So generally, this is the consortium model where the different stakeholders are being interacting with each others. They communicate with each others are there. Here in this reference models are there. If their interaction has to be happens between the services providers or the consumer or auditors, that can be done. Here the interactions can happen between these cloud services and the consumers are there. There will be interactions between the brokers as well as the services providers are there. Here these cloud auditors can audit the services of the with respect to consumers are there. They can audit the cloud provider services are there where they emphasize on the security and privacies are there, and what kind of services layers they are using it and what kind of services they are providing it. That has to be as per the rules or regulations, or you can say they are following the standards are there or not. This cloud auditor also can audit the cloud brokers are there where these they audit the what kind of services they are aggregated are there. Are those services are being used there or not? Let's suppose in any countries, let's suppose they have the privacy issues are there, security issues are there. Are they providing services to in there? And they are following the these methods there or not are there. So everything will be done, or you can say this auditor will be have the interactions or between the different services providers are there. Okay, so this is in a conceptual model in which they have the interactions with it are there, and also these cloud auditors also can have the interactions where they see they whatever the SLAs are having between the services providers and the internet services providers between the cloud providers are there. What kind of resources they are using are there, and what types of methods they are being followed. That has to be done or used can be happens by the your cloud providers are there. So cloud providers provide the services, that is software as services, platform as services, infrastructure as services. These are services being provided by them. They provide the abstractions layer. Here, why? Because the user node need to aware what kind of things that are being happens behind the scenes are there. So depending upon the software services, platform services, infrastructure services that has been defined there. There are also the physical resource layers are there being used, and what kind of facilities are there in which we can create virtual machines are there, where again it is hardware assisted or the software assisted are there, depending upon the what kind of services models that you are using are there. Let's suppose if your software services are being used, we can have the software virtual machines can be created. Or let's suppose we have the platform services, infrastructure services, we can use the hardware assisted virtual machines are there. But in general, let's suppose we have the have to create a virtual machines. Generally, companies are using the hardware assisted virtual machines are there, in which they directly install the, or you can say these cloud services are on the hardwares are there, and they are being aware whether there are the different virtual machines are being created, and they can interact with each other are there. And if we use as standalone users, we can create an environment, or we can create an virtual machines on our systems also. So we can use the software services are there. Software assisted virtual machines can be created in that. Those machines are there, where we deployed or install. First we need to install our tools which will create an environment or provide an environment for virtual machines are there. After creating that environment, you can install the different virtual machines, or you can create a different virtual machines are there, and that also depends upon the what kind of configurations, what kind of capacity are there being of that individual machines are there. Okay, so here they also provide the cloud services management, where they helps in order to generate the business reports for the consumers are there, for the users are there. They provide the configurations of the services are there, and they generally depends upon the provisioning, and it means the scalability of the data, scalability of the resources can be increased or decreased depending upon the user's requirements are there. Let's suppose, and this will be done automatically are there. Let's suppose for the any particular given times, the usage of the resources are being increased for any particular users are there or companies are there. Say they will overseas, they will monitor it for the particular time, and after that they will automatically scale up the resources are there for that companies or the users are there. And let's suppose for the any given particular times, the resources the users, those resources are not being used by them for any particular let's suppose any given time. And if they identify that these resources are not being used by the users, they automatically decrease the resources, or you can say they will give the resources to the others so that they can work on it. So that has been done, provisioning and configurations by the cloud services providers are there. The portability is, they already told you the different platforms we can use it with respect to services providers are there. Anything the user can access the resources from the different locations are there. They can have the security is also one of the major challenge in the cloud computing is security is there. They user, as the user data is stored in their data centers are there, which are kept across the different geographical locations are there. So user don't know where the data is being stored there. So they have to provide a mechanism or so that the their user data is secure enough so that another users cannot able to access are there. Or you can say, as this cloud services is multi-tenant services provider services are there. The one virtual machines, or you can say VM1 and VM2 or VM3, they cannot oversee the data of the different virtual machines are there. Let's suppose in this example, VM2 virtual machines cannot see the virtual machine 1 data are there, and virtual 3s are there, as well as the virtual machine 1 cannot see the data of this, they cannot see the data of this, as well as this, they cannot see this, and they cannot see this. So kind of security that has to be provided by your cloud providers are there. And again, privacy has to be maintained between the users, and they cannot or you can say user data cannot be accessed by the others, anyone is there. So they generally, what they do, they mask the whatever the data is there, and in fact their own employees cannot access the consumer data are there. Another thing is in security, the authentications and authorizations are being deployed. For that, identity access management is being used by the cloud services providers are there, in which first the user has to enter into systems by providing authentications are there. Then they have the authorization, means what kind of services they are availing it, only those services they can access it. Rest of services cannot access this are there. Okay, so let's suppose in AWS we have an identity access management are there. IAM is being used, which is being root users are there, and where after entering into the root users, they can create any different users are also there. So in the AWS, we generally, or you can say, it is being recommended. Whatever the rights has been there with the IAM are there, root users are there, they need to create one users where they have the provide the all the access to that. Let's suppose X users are there. That X user also now again create a different virtual machines are there. So we that is being recommended are there. So that kind of security is being provided by the cloud providers are there. As cloud brokers, they act as an intermediator. They aggregate the services and they arbitrage the services of the different users are there. And auditors audit the security, they audit the privacy or impact of the audit, they audit the performance are there. And these are the cloud carriers which helps in order to transfer of the data between the different two users are there. So this is the conceptual models where the 5 stakeholders are there: cloud consumer, cloud provider, cloud brokers, and your cloud auditors and the cloud carriers are there. So these are the different stakeholders, players with respect to cloud services provider. Thank you.